It's week 5. The Buckeyes woke up to score 38 points in a solid victory over the Western Michigan Broncos and will open Big Ten play this weekend when they visit the Indiana Hoosiers. We are covering every angle of it right here. Welcome to National Minute. I'm Evan Simkowitz. Eric Seger from 11 Warriors and Kevin Stankiewicz from the Lantern are here again to break it all down. Gentlemen, head coach Urban Meyer opened up his press conference on Saturday night by talking about the play of the special teams, called it solid, 51 net yards, no return yards by Western Michigan Bronco receivers. How important has the special teams play been?
I think it's been extremely important, especially with how the offense has been kind of struggling and trying to figure things out early on in the season. Cameron Johnson deservedly earned Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Year or of the week this past week. So I think that it's been really, really crucial.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I mean, Cameron Johnson's absolutely been spectacular. 9th in the country in average punt returns. And one of the things that I look at, too, is we know how good the defense has been, but when the offense turns the ball over, it puts the defense in a tough position. Like, against Northern Illinois, that Cardell Jones' interception gave Northern Illinois a short field, so the defense already had their back up against the wall. But when Cameron Johnson's able to boom the ball downfield like that and, pin teams inside the 10-yard line, it's very hard to go 90 yards against the Ohio State defense. Right. So I think that's been something very overlooked, and I'm pretty sure that Northern Illinois had 10 of their 13 points following Ohio State turnovers.
Absolutely, yeah. They got to work with short fields. And another thing, too, that's been an improvement since the beginning of the year, I think, was just the punt returning. I mean, Jalen Marshall against Western Michigan had a good day. He had a couple returns out to maybe midfield or so. I mean, anytime you get a starting position like that, it's an advantage for any offense.
Yeah, and it's not just the punting units, really all 4 special teams units. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Corey Smith blocked a punt, they got called back. I mean, Tyrus Powell blocked a field goal. It's been the whole thing.
And they got the kickoffs figured out too. Right. They had the couple out of bounds, but looks like they sort of abandoned going to the corner a little bit.
Yeah, it's been still to the left side, but not quite to the corner, and
more towards the hash.
Jack Willoughby nailed a couple field goals, so yeah, he looks like he's getting more comfortable too.
Yeah. Is it at all possible? I've never heard this said about any college football program, but is it all possible the special teams play is leading the way?
I don't know if we can go that far, but it's not. Yeah. It's not out of the realm, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably more of a, defense 1A, special teams 1B-ish.
And the offense hopefully coming on soon for Urban Meyer's sake.
Hopefully 1C.
Yeah.
1C. And speaking of the offense, after the game when Meyer was speaking with the media, he said something that kind of raised my eyebrows. In that he attributed the underthrown balls by Cardell Jones and 1 or 2 by J.T. Barrett to the wide receivers. And he said that we need wide receivers who can stretch the field, but he said we have those. And that to me is interesting because I don't think there are that many true receivers on this team. Looking forward to Big Ten play, higher expectations. Where are we with the receivers? What are the expectations for them?
Well, I think Michael Thomas is by far a top 5 receiver in the country. I mean, I think he's proven that, and he did last season in the postseason and early on this year. I mean, he's a big, fast receiver with great hands. But other than that, I mean, what Urban was saying is they're still trying to find that Devin Smith guy who can stretch the field, and he's hoping Jalen Marshall and Corey Smith can be those 2 guys that can do it, hopefully maybe by committee type thing. But it's a little interesting that he said that he was confident in them because, like, to your point, I agree. Other than Michael Thomas, I don't really see a true wide receiver like Devin Smith or Evan Spencer last year. I mean, those guys just had one good thing that they were really good at, and there's kind of missing that now this year.
Yeah, Marshall, he had the 37-yard touchdown.
Yes, he did.
And the thing about him is obviously quarterback in high school and then was like an H. Right. So he hasn't really spent a lot of time there. I'm not sure his route tree is fully developed.
No.
He's definitely got the athleticism.
Yeah.
Corey Smith's a veteran guy, so he's been through the program for a couple of years. So I'm expecting him that if he gets on the field to be able to make plays, just because
he'll have some chances.
He's played receiver more than even you got a guy like Braxton Miller. This is his first year, so Curtis Samuel was a halfback in high school. So all the guys out there on the edge that are supposed to be wide receivers, Corey Smith's the one with the most experience. Along with Thomas.
And they want Jalen Marshall to be able to do everything, but they are also asking him to be the deep threat and be the guy because he's fast and he's got good hands. But if they can't get it to him, then it's for naught.
Marshall had 4 touchdowns against Indiana last year.
Saved the game.
Right, and he hauled in one last week against Western Michigan. Can he be expected to be maybe a number 2 or number 3 guy?
That's I think what they're kind of hoping, especially because I mean that number 2 guy I think was going to be Noah Brown, but he's been lost for the season with the leg injury. So that has kind of caused the unit to kind of scurry a little bit and try to shuffle some faces and try to find what they have. But I think that he can potentially be that. Yeah.
They are scurrying. It's interesting you bring that up, and I think a big part of it has been the disappearing act by Braxton Miller in recent weeks. Last time I had you on, he was coming off that spectacular game against Virginia Tech where you called his run probably play of the year.
Yeah.
But since then, it's been somewhat lackluster.
Yeah,
What's the issue?
It's like not even 200 yards total. I mean, it's just. I think they're still trying to figure out how exactly they're going to use him, and the direct snaps sometimes don't always work. He's been kind of lackadaisical with the football, dropped a couple, and it's just tough to like bring a guy in like that who is learning a new position at the same time of being this terrific athlete. It's a weird situation.
Yeah,
really.
he definitely is. I know he had one drop earlier in the third quarter, but he followed it up having a catch on the next play. So it's been, you've seen some highs and you've seen a lot of lows with him. Like you said, obviously the first game we're like, oh, okay, like, yep, fine. He made the transition great. And then we started to realize, okay, it's definitely a little bit more difficult than we thought. So I think as they experiment with him and he has more experience, I think by the end of the season, I think he'll have come around to that position. But I think we might have all just kind of thought that it would be easier for him. Yeah.
And another thing, too, that's going to be big is if he can figure out how to block with consistency, because he's never had to do that in his life. And if you want to play wide receiver in this spread offense, you got to be able to block guys on the edge, and he hasn't really done that.
Yeah, on the punt return that Jalen Marshall had
he knocked 2 guys out.
Yeah, he had big blocks there, but it's slightly different on the punt return than when, on a perimeter run.
Trying to stretch somebody.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely a different technique than just kind of running and throwing a shoulder into a guy who's trying to tackle. But, I mean, that at least showed me that he's not afraid to throw his body out there. Sometimes you wonder if he's going to be cautious. Like,
with his shoulder and everything.
Yeah, but, I think it's that's just all technique and just learning on how to pick up corners and stuff like that.
Feel comfortable with it. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, any reasonable expectations for the offense for this weekend, Braxton Miller included?
I mean, I think that the offense is going to score at least 40 points. Because I don't think Indiana's defense is very good, so I think they're going to light it up.
Their defense, the running defense ranks 47th nationally, but the passing defense is second from last, only to be outdone by Nebraska, another Big Ten school. But one of the things I was looking at is the youth in Indiana secondary.
Yeah.
It's startling. They have 10 guys. The top 10 defensive backs are all sophomore or freshman eligibility. So I think that's unheard of. They have one redshirt junior in the secondary.
Yeah,
so
and it's going to be kind of a test. Like I mean, Ohio State's going to have opportunities. Can the wide receivers who kind of struggled a little bit this year, can they make the playoffs?
Yeah, they turned the corner last week, and this is honestly a really good opportunity for them to keep making those strides and maybe look like they did at the end of last year. This is the perfect team to do it against.
Right.
In terms of
Sure, it is
secondary.
a tremendous matchup against one of the worst defensive teams in the nation. And you both are keying into something that I think a lot of people around this program are really understanding that this is really where it starts. This is, as Joshua Perry said to the media on Monday, this is where you start to want to achieve all your goals, which for this team, as head coach Meyer put it, is to contend for a national championship. But there are also 13 other programs that have similar goals. So that being said, in honor of Big Ten play starting, like your predictions for the season.
Well, I think Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten. I think really the only team that can get in their way is Michigan State. And because they play Michigan State at home, I think that they'll win that game. The Michigan game is Michigan's coming. They're getting better under Jim Harbaugh. I think that's going to be a tough test because it's in Ann Arbor and everyone will be excited for it. Out of the West, take your pick. If I had to choose somebody, it would be maybe Wisconsin or Minnesota, but I don't know because both those teams have lost some really bad games or not looked that great. But then Iowa, I just don't trust, frankly. And Northwestern can't win big games, so it'll be what it'll be.
Now I know you have a slightly different prediction.
I do. I have actually Iowa coming out of the West. Kirk Ferentz, 15th year as a head coach, second longest tenured coach in the FBS. So I really like what they have there. They have two really solid running backs that they can run. Jordan Kazari is 8 touchdowns already. That's tied with Leonard Fournette. They can run the ball. They're physical, as we know, which bodes well in Big Ten play. So I think they're going to that pro-style offense that they run is actually going to give teams fits defensively because they're maybe not used to a team being like, hey, we're going to pound the ball in between the tackles with 2 guys.
Yep.
Quarterback play, C.J. Beathard's third in the Big Ten in passing yards, second in completion percentage. So after Rudock transferred to Michigan, it was kind of like, well, I guess we're stuck with this guy at quarterback. But he's played really well so far, and I think he's only thrown one interception. So if they can, not turn the ball over, I think they'll be physical. They can handle Wisconsin physically.
That's going to be the biggest thing, is if they can take care of the ball, because in the past they've just had some terrible mistakes.
Yeah.
They just did them in big games. So.
Yeah, so I like them coming out of the West, and I actually, just because of right now the way Ohio State's been shaky, I do think Michigan State has a really good chance if they can get that defense. So in our Lanterns Big Ten preview that we put out today, I had I had Michigan State beating Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, but Ohio State's, that's to me that's a fluid pick. I think as Ohio State starts to click, then I'll feel more confident in them. But right now, they've just been kind of shaky offensively.
That's a complete fair assessment. I mean, I think Michigan State has looked like the best team in the league right now, but I think Ohio State has plenty of opportunities and chances to get things moving, especially offensively, which I think took a big step last week.
Yeah, and with that said, ask me in 2 weeks, it might be different, but right now, just the complete package that Michigan State's showing.
Michigan State versus Iowa in the championship game, and you have Ohio State versus the field.
Yes. I have no idea. I mean, it could be Northwestern, but they could lose to Iowa, and Iowa could take it, or Wisconsin could come charge. I mean, who knows?
Well, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And we'll have both of their emails in the comment section so that you can send them all your hate mail.
The best kind of mail.
Yeah.
The only mail I really want.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. That's it for this week's National Minute. Buckeyes kick off against Indiana at 3:30, and be sure to join us next week as we preview the Buckeyes' homecoming game against Maryland. We'll have complete coverage at thelantern.com. That's Eric. That's Kevin. I'm Evan Simkowitz.